Hello, class. Our team, consisting of Francesca Duran, Crystal Birch, Melissa Martinez, Marissa Mackey, and Monique Armijo, had the opportunity to speak with Michelle Bencomo. Michelle is a graduate of New Mexico Highlands University. She has a professional background in higher education and is currently an instructor at NMHU, as well as a leader at the NMHU Center for Professional Development and Career Readiness.
Her interview, Michelle highlights the importance of setting clear expectations from the beginning to benefit both leaders and employees. This empowers employees to make informed decisions while also fostering open communication. The leader proactively clarifies standards and goals for their team before any issues or misunderstandings arise. This process is essential for both giving and receiving feedback.
By practicing consistency, Michelle demonstrates a commitment to ethical and moral responsibility. Advocating when needed, she considers the needs of both students and her staff. She advises that effective communication is the foundation of trust and the key to building strong relationships between leaders and followers.
She encourages leaders to adapt to employees by acknowledging their diverse backgrounds. As an effective leader, she believes that characteristics like empathy, understanding, and learning are essential for finding effective ways to communicate and encourage growth and development.
Michelle invites NMHU students and alumni to visit the Center for Professional Development and Career Readiness. They offer leadership workshops, career planning, assistance with resumes, and job searching, as well as a range of other services. Let's dive into her interview.
All right, Michelle. So you've already given us a brief little to do about you, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your role, and the organization you work for?
My name is Michelle Bencomo. I am an alum, a two-time alum from Highlands. I've earned my bachelor's and master's degree here. I work at Highlands, so that is my organization, an organization of higher education. My professional background, is that I have been in higher ed for the 16 years. I started at Luna Community College, and then I came to Highlands a little over 12 years ago. So that is my calling. That is where I have decided my career has gone. And I currently in my role, I've done a few things in higher education. I've done financial aid, I've done student relations, and now I'm in the Center for Professional Development and Career Readiness. And this position has just really helped with my passion. It's helped fulfill me in lots of different ways I didn't realize. I do love leadership. I love leadership. I love professional and self-development. I like being a part of helping to develop students in the classroom because I do teach a class here at Highlands as well, but mostly outside of the classroom. What are students doing to develop themselves personally and professionally outside of the classroom? And I've really fallen in love with that aspect of growing our students. And so that's a little bit about my background. My organization, Highlands, is an institution of higher ed. We are a public four-year university, and we serve a population of mostly Hispanic students. So we are a Hispanic serving institution, and our enrollment is about 24 to 2,500 at the moment, always, of course, wanting to increase that enrollment. And a lot of our departments are wanting to work on the programming that they offer too, to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the students. So we are trying to be proactive and offer things that students want.
Now, thinking about your leadership experience, can you describe a particular challenge you faced, especially one involving people or teams?
Yes, I can. So I have been in a few leadership roles in my 16 years in higher education, and I think I will call upon a challenge that I experienced probably about 2 years ago. And it was a challenge with an employee. Um, so definitely calls upon the leadership aspect because it was an individual I was leading at the time. And the employee made a decision. So I did mention that we're at an institution of higher ed. That is where this challenge took place. So the employee made a decision about a student and what they were or were not going to receive. And the student was upset, came to me with the problem and the concern that they had. And I decided, based on all of the pieces, based on what the employee told me, based on what the student told me, that I was going to make a decision in favor of the student. Now, where the challenge came in was that I had to go and talk to the employee about me overriding their initial decision. That's a hard thing to do because as a leader, I support my employees. However, I also realize that sometimes the decisions that I entrust them to make may not be in the best interest of the student. And so that was the case in this particular challenge where I felt the decision made by the employee was not in the student's best interest. And so the employee felt that because I overrode their decision, that I was not in support of them, which definitely was not true. I had to make sure and let them know that even though I did not make the decision that they had wanted to make, that I did still let the student know, you cannot treat my employee this way. This is not the right way to go about it. So there was an education piece, both with the student and letting them know, okay, you're going to be able to receive what you had wanted, but here's why, and here's how not to do it in the future. And I had to have a similar conversation with the employee too. Look, I'm sorry. I know this is a way that you feel. I respect your feelings. I get how you feel. I just want you to know that I'm not doing this to challenge you, to make you feel a certain way. I'm doing it because it's in the student's best interest. And I did let them know that I spoke to the student and let them know what they could have done better. And so it kind of was a multifaceted challenge with the student and with the employee, but making it like a teachable moment for them too, for both of them, for both sides. And it turned out fine. I think the employee respected that I communicated with them and didn't just make the decision and said, hey, that's the decision I'm making. I'm making it because I can, right? I had communication with them about it, about why. And in the end, they understood and they said, oh, yeah, you're right. I think you did make the best decision for the student. They understood, and we never had a problem about it again. It was. It's really hard to be in a leadership role where you are giving your employees the allowance to make decisions. That's empowerment, right? You want to make sure you empower your employees to make decisions because that makes them motivated. That helps them to have job satisfaction. But also, sometimes people make mistakes or they'll make decisions based on their own feelings, and that's not always the best way to do it. So sometimes if an employee, if me as a leader has to call out an employee on a decision they made and maybe it wasn't the best, that's a really difficult thing to do. But I think what you have to do is take a step back, kind of separate your emotions from it. And you have to think, well, what is best for the student? And not just what's best for them. Is it something that we're doing with all students? Are we being consistent? Would I make the same decision with another student, with another employee if this had happened, right? You have to step back and kind of see the issue as a whole and not just in its specific situation. And then also make sure you communicate that information. I'm one who I talk to people about things. If there's an issue, I'll talk to you about it. I'm not a supervisor who will give the cold shoulder or give the silent treatment. I'm not in middle school. I have a middle schooler who I raise, and I know that this is sometimes how they act. This is the professional world, and in that, it's my job as a leader not just to make sure in higher ed that students are um, being treated fairly, but also that I'm working to build my employees up as well. And I know letting them know that the decision they made wasn't the best one is sometimes not seen as supporting and growing your employees, but we all have to be told sometimes. My supervisor has sometimes told me things I'm not doing right or things I could do better. And it's hard sometimes. That's a hard pill to swallow when somebody is telling you you're not, you didn't make the best decision, because we always want to make the best decision. But it's a growing opportunity too, when you look back at it. And I think that the employee that I had that challenge with, definitely did see it in the end.
Amazing. And you pretty much answered all three of our questions. But just to kind of follow up, is there any leadership skills or strategies that you rely on challenges like this when you're faced with these types of situations?
Yeah, absolutely. I try to lead with empathy. Everybody is going through something. I sometimes don't even know what the employees that work for me, what they're going through, but one kind of the golden rule, right, is treat others how you want to be treated. I know that sounds so cliche and so basic, like leadership 101, but it's so true. If you keep going back to that, if you keep going back to treat others how you would like to be treated, then it's going to be easy. It's going to be easy to have those conversations. Now, not all the decisions you're going to make are going to be easy, but just being a leader and showing up for your employees with empathy, knowing that they're going through something, even if you don't experience it yourself, listening, and just being understanding. Those are kind of the three basic leadership skills that I use when I lead, because I think that, we all have lives, we all have families. Work is work. If I were to, I don't like to use get hit by a bus because that's like super negative, right? But if I win the lottery and I leave Highlands, they are going to replace me in days, right? A job is a job. And I I'll let you in on a little secret, but one of my employees just resigned today from my office. And I'm heartbroken, but I think I've done my job because I don't expect employees to stay in one position for the rest of their life. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to lead, to help the employee grow so they can go use those skills somewhere else. You don't want employees to feel stagnant in a position where there's no place to go, there's no room to advance. I have a really small department. There's nowhere to advance in my department. If they can do that somewhere else, please do it. It really it hurts me, but it's also good. Good for them. That's what we want as leaders. That's what we want for our employees is for them to grow and to develop and to want to continue to grow, and them leaving because they feel like they've reached what they can do in our office to try and go do something else is kind of like, I feel like it's a compliment for me that I've worked to develop an employee so much that they want to continue to grow. And I feel so good about that too. So I think leading is hard. Leading can be hard, but I respect leaders who lead with empathy, who under try to understand where their employees are coming from, who listen and who support their employees no matter what. Um, and you know what? Sometimes correct them when they're not doing the right thing. It's okay to do that. You just have to find the way to do that too. You have to be respectful. You have to make sure and have open communication. Those kinds of things will get you far. And the employee that I was speaking about earlier with the challenge, we're actually really good friends to this day. It didn't have an effect on anything in regard to our relationship. And I think maybe even more respect is what we've gained in that exchange.
Thank you for that. So, what key lessons did you learn from this experience that might help others who face similar leadership challenges?
Well, I've learned that it's really, really important to have that communication. If I had just went to the employee who I disagreed with their challenge and said, "Nope, sorry, I overruled your decision. That's all it is. Um, I get the final say, so that's it." I could have said that, but if I did, that is not opening the door for any kind of dialogue about what did the employee do, how could they have done it differently, the reasons why I made the decision. There's so much that you have to cover within that communication that's so important to the employee leader relationship. I can't even begin to tell you how important communication is. So if there's a challenge that comes up and leaders are having a difficult time trying to figure out how to resolve it, I would say the first thing you need to at least try is the communication. Have communication with the employee about the issue. Now, not everything is going to be as easy as how it went for me. I'm lucky in that it went really well. It went smoothly. No, nothing further had to happen in order to resolve. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes the employee is not willing to communicate or look beyond their scope of the situation, and sometimes the leader is not willing to do that either. And so I think it takes both. So I think if you have the opportunity to, it's good to set expectations with your employees from the start. If you're the one hiring them, it's good to set communication expectations up front. If you're an individual coming into the leadership role with already existing employees, it's still good at some point to set those expectations as well. Employees should know how their leaders are going to lead. And it's up to the leader to learn how the employees' personalities affect their work. I always say, leading and being in a leadership role is similar to parenting. I can't parent all three of my kids the same way. They have different needs, they have different personalities, they have different everything, right? And it's the same with employees. And I'm not saying that my employees are like children at all, but the just learning about people with different personalities is what you need to take from a leadership role. You need to learn that all of your employees have different personalities, they have different experiences, they are different ages, they are different ethnicities, they come from different backgrounds, they have experienced life different. So it's important for leaders to make sure that they learn enough about their employees and know how to approach issues. Now, that same challenge, if it had been a different employee, I might have handled it a little bit differently, depending on who they are, what their personality is, those kinds of things. So I think my advice to those trying to resolve issues and challenges within the workplace, specifically between leaders and their employees, is communication and taking the time to learn about them.